let's talk about injecting our own blood back into our penis. So it's beady. Today I am going over my P-Shot update. You like what I do? Like the video. Subscribe if you're into everything that I do. I have a Patreon if you want to support the cause. And I also sell men's health aids at Peak Male Physique and eventually elsewhere. And we'll get into that hopefully very soon. So for those who didn't watch the first video, let me give you a quick rundown. PRP is platelet-rich plasma. We can get that from your blood by drawing it out of your arm and then spinning it really fast in a centrifuge, and that causes all your blood to separate from red blood cells, plasma, and that'd be platelet-rich plasma and platelet-poor plasma. Platelet-rich plasma carries all the growth factors for wound healing. So that would be the cells that flood any cut on your arm. I keep saying arm. So any cut on your body would be flooded with these growth factors. They start sticking to each other, and then they start releasing these hormones to signal your tissues to replicate, to close the opening in the wound. Now, what if we take all those cells that are responsible for healing, squeeze all the juices out of them, and then injected it into a body part? It is reasonable to assume you will get an extreme healing response from that area. Platelet-rich plasma therapy has been used probably for the past 5 to 10 years in hip, knee, all kinds of joint treatments, rejuvenation of the hairline, and recently it was FDA approved for penile enlargement, or penile rejuvenation more specifically. But if you follow me on Reddit, you know that penis enlargement follows the mechanostat theory of growth, which is basically a type of controlled healing. The more stimulus you apply to a tissue, the more resilient it will become to the stress of the stimulus. And when it comes to soft tissue, that would cause growth. So there's studies on the Achilles tendons where if you put it under undue strain, that it would eventually get bigger and stronger. Same thing happens to your penis, believe it or not, and it's probably slightly faster than the Achilles tendon because it is blood-holding tissue. We're not going to go into that. I'm going to cover that in a whole different video, why penis enlargement works scientifically eventually. But for now, we're talking about stabbing our dicks, or a doctor stabbing our dicks. Very big difference there. So since PE, penis enlargement, is a game of controlled healing, at least the way I teach it, if you can speed up the healing response any way possible, you're going to get better results from penis enlargement. And that's why I did it. It fits my theory of growth. Something I didn't talk about in my first video is that P-shots are not always successful. The biggest determining factor is how much blood is drawn from you and the yield of PRP. If the clinic you are going to is going to draw less than 60 milliliters of blood, it is not worth your time. I would strongly suggest finding a place that draws anywhere between 60 and 120 milliliters of blood. That would yield anywhere from 20 to 40 milliliters of PRP. Now, the more you inject, the more likely you are to bruise. For growth, you need, for extreme growth, you need to nuke that area with as much hormone for growth as possible. Another important thing is this solution of platelet-rich plasma needs to be activated. That's when they put a little bit of calcium and salt into the plasma to get them to burst and release all the hormones in them. If they don't do that, none of that hormone will actually make it into the tissue that we're trying to target, because if they're still in the cells are still living, I think. So they just go back into the body doing their own thing. And then another important thing is that you need to do penis enlargement of some kind during your PRP 6 to 12 weeks after, or for 6 to 12 weeks after. So a lot of these places are actually going to give you a penis pump and tell you to pump 20 minutes every day, twice a day. That's a decent starting point, but my subreddit r/gettingbigger has way more sophisticated routines for you to follow. So as I said before, my first time was not great because I had an allergic reaction to lidocaine. This caused my skin to have basically blood blisters instead of being a normal functioning human with a logical brain. I decided to push through it, and then that caused scars on my skin, and these hematomas refused to heal. So I had to stop PE for about 5 to 6 weeks to have my skin fuse shut. Now, I do have superficial scars on my penis. It does not impact performance whatsoever. I'm just slightly uglier down there than beforehand. That being said, in that time of healing, I did lose some size. Now, this is not because of PRP. This is because of the allergic reaction I had to lidocaine. So, it is pretty rare to be allergic to lidocaine, but you just want to cover your bases beforehand. My doctor was nice enough to give me another round of PRP at a discounted price. I said, why the hell not? So we did a slightly lower injection volume. First time we did 30 milliliters of PRP. This time we did about 20. First thing is I was about 8.5 inches bone pressed at that time. I went back to my normal 8 3/4 bone pressed within 2 weeks of the injection. There was no blood blisters or anything like that. My flaccid was extremely stretchy. That is a sign that your connective tissues are adapting to this new stimulus. By the end of the first month, I was at 8.9 bone pressed. So when I say bone pressed, that means we're measuring from the pubic bone to the tip of the penis. Now, that does not mean my results are conclusive that I gained 0.4 of an inch in a month. Far from it. I would assume it was probably closer to 0.3. However, since there is inconclusion in these results, I am going to go in for yet another round and go from there. Also, I was about 5.9 inches mid-shaft girth around my circumcision line. By week 4, I was 6 1/8. So that's about 1/4 of an inch growth of girth in that time frame. And this was without a cock ring. This is just my normal erection. Like I said, my flaccid was super stretchy, super long for like 3 weeks after the first injection. And my penis just kept feeling denser and denser. So even if I wasn't necessarily growing in like volume, the amount of blood that I held obviously increased, and therefore it felt bigger to my wife just from that fact alone. So to sum it up, I gained at least 1/4 of an inch in length and at least 1/4 of an inch in girth in those 4 weeks. However, it is inconclusive because I lost a little bit of size right beforehand, and let's say that does not make for sound science. There's an extra variable that we did not account for. So next time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a clone of Willy, which is essentially a silicone mold of my penis, before the 3rd injection, and then we can compare from that 6 weeks and 12 weeks after that. So that way we can have definitive proof that PRP expedites the rate of gain from penis enlargement. Now, typically I gain naturally 1/8 of an inch a month in length, and then 1/16 of an inch in girth when I'm focusing on it. To make it worthwhile, you want to be probably at least double that rate of gain. So we're talking 1/4 of an inch in length, 1/8 of an inch in girth. And right now, I would say it looks like, at least in my experience, it hit that. Also, I'm just one guy. I am relatively lucky, and I have a relatively good growth response I've always had. Not growth, healing response. So basically what I'm saying is I'm N of 1. There are at least 3 guys I know of that always say, well, PRP did not work for me. And again, there's a multitude of reasons for that. So do your own research. Consider if the $1,000 down is worth 1/4 of an inch, potentially. Let's see, what else can I talk about? Okay, my routine during this time was very simple. Since I was coming back to PE, another compounding variable is that I was fresh to stimulus. I only did 2 sets of 10 minutes of clamping, 20 to 40 minutes of hanging every day at about 5 to 7 pounds. That's it. And I wasn't even very consistent. I would say I was doing this about 5 days a week when I should have been doing it every day. So my routine definitely was not optimal, but it was what I could fit into my schedule as I'm trying to launch a supplement company. My full-time job is kind of nuts right now, And, you know, I am a husband, so I do have family duties. I would say my results are actually pretty good considering everything else going on in my life. I know it doesn't look that great on paper, but to me, I think it shows promise. Now, I know a lot of you guys that are just on YouTube are probably skeptic of me just talking about it. So on my subreddit, more importantly, my Reddit profile, BD 1996-2015, I take basically a log of my results every month from penis enlargement. So you can see for yourself my growth there, because I don't want, it's a personal preference not to have my penis on YouTube. So keeping on Reddit and Pornhub and eventually my own website. So yeah, I think I grew a lot. Depends on your definition of a lot, though. I am going for a third shot, and that will be the definitive point for me to say that PRP actually works as I said it did in the beginning, okay? I don't want anyone running out to get it just yet. If they are, I want them to do their due diligence to make sure it will actually benefit them in their own opinion, not just because some meathead online said that injecting your own distilled blood back into your penis is going to make it much bigger. That is not rational. You need to make sure that you are fully understanding what you're getting yourself into. That being said, there is a very low risk of complication from PRP. It's mainly bruising, and in case you're allergic to whatever numbing agent like me, because, you know, but it's something to keep in mind. I'm probably rambling at this point again, so I'm gonna stop it here. peakmalephysique.com for men's health aids, Patreon, like, subscribe. This is BD signing off.